What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Pastor Keenan with my favorite sidekick, Nick. Nick, man, what's poppin'? It's Tuesday, December the 13th when we're taping this, and I don't know if you've seen it or not, but I'm about to drop some knowledge on you because I know how much you hate cold weather. But I'm seeing by all forecasts that they're calling for single-digit type temperatures on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And I don't know if it's true or not, but if it's on Facebook, there's a 22% validity rate that it is. I'm seeing that there could be some white, flaky stuff. And I'm not talking about crack cocaine. I am talking, my friend, about
Got me all excited
snow.
for nothing.
I know, right? I'm talking about snow, my good man, on Christmas Day. Do you know how epic that would be? Do you understand that? That's epic. Mm-hmm. Snow on Christmas Day. Don't get excited.
No. I mean, if it's going to snow and if it's going to be single digits, I mean, it might as well be on Christmas as long as it doesn't screw up the roads, you know?
Right.
Like, we don't need a bunch of, like Aunt Susan's crashing into a, side of the freeway, something like that, right? But yeah, so, I mean, hey, I'm fine with it. But of course, to our listeners who are lucky and warm,
Absolutely, yeah, in other parts of the country, because we don't just service Hodgenville, Kentucky anymore, baby. We are on the map. We are touching base within 30 states in the United States right now.
Yeah, we're getting around that way. I know. I think it was within the last 30 days we've had several downloads, even in India, which has been pretty wild.
Yeah, so, absolutely. And I think it's always warm over there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so for their sake. But
yeah,
I mean, I don't know. We say snow, they'd be like, "What's that?"
Yeah, it's been a hot minute since I've been in geography class or social studies or anything like that. So,
I mean, I've never been to India, so
me neither, man. So but yeah, I'm excited. I feel like Hallmark's just going to drop off right here in Hodgenville. Just start filming, see what happens.
That'd be nice. We just need to find a country guy and a girl from the big city. And,
absolutely.
Just get them together, and it'd be great.
Yeah,
right there on Abe's lap down at the square.
Yeah, and then they can stop by Fruition Church on Sunday morning. Bam! There's the drop in, man.
Bam, 11:15.
11:15 on Sunday mornings. We thank you guys so much for tuning in, for download the podcast, and we're just having fun with this thing now, man, and we're just taking everyday life, putting it together, and hopefully we can win at life together. That's what this thing is all about, the Everyday Christian Podcast. And if you can go check us out at Fruition Church on Facebook. You can check us out on YouTube at Fruition Church of Hodgenville. And, my buddy Nick here told me just today alone we have doubled our subscribers, and that is fantastic. So you can always check us out there on YouTube as well. You can follow me personally on TikTok at Pastor K. Riley, and I'm always trying to drop a little bit of knowledge on there. We have a website, www.fruitionchurchky.org, and that is the hub of everything that goes on. Nick, that sits across from me here, he runs that whole establishment and keeps it up to date and everything. So let me know how it is, and if it sucks, we'll fire him, and we'll move on from there, right, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, what am I losing?
Definitely not a paycheck.
Exactly.
So we have that website, and then also, again, there is the podcast, which you can download on Spotify, Google, Apple, a little bit of everything. So tonight, right now, Nick, I have ventured into the podcast world myself. Not just listening to us, because that would be arrogant, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still refuse to do that because I just hate hearing my own voice. But we'll get there one day.
You can't hardly hear yourself.
Yeah, that's the point.
But I've been listening to some different podcasts, man, and just really trying to venture in. I've been trying to, of course, I read the Bible. I get pumped up from that. But also, man, I've been listening to a lot of motivational stuff, entrepreneurs type stuff, financial type stuff, just different things, man, different areas of life. I know we've been kind of hitting this theme hard for the last couple of weeks, talking about physical, financial, emotional, spiritual, 4 levels of life that you can always win at. But this quote from a podcast show today really hit me, and it was coming from a nutrition expert, right? But this is something, man, that hits in all different areas of life. I want to read this quote, and I want to talk about it. I'm going to read it twice because it's so good, all right? The quote says, "The speed of action is dictated by the severity of pain. A lot of times people are slow to change because they don't hate where they are enough." That's deep, man.
Wow.
That almost.
That wasn't even yours. I can't say wow.
Yeah, you shut your mouth right now, man, because we're going to talk about this on a level that just going to just make people go mind blown. I hope it gets somebody up out their seat when they hear it. They'll be like, you know what? I'm going to take this world over right now. One more time. The speed of action is dictated by the severity of pain. A lot of times people are slow to change because they don't hate where they are enough. Let's talk about that tonight, Nick, because I tell you, man, whenever I heard that statement today, I was on my way to the gym. And, I mean, I'll be honest with you, man, I had one of probably the toughest workouts that I've had today since I've been doing gym-type stuff, man. And it was mental. I mean, it was literally mental. I know some people that's listening to this going to be like, I'm going to say what I done, and they're going to be like, I don't even know what that is. But
I'll be right there with them.
I know, right? 120 cal assault bike, 80 wall balls at 20 pounds, and 40 deadlifts at 185. 5-minute rest. Then you went 20 deadlifts at 225, 40 wall balls, and then 60 cals back on the bike.
So for those of you who plan on their New Year's resolution being going to the gym, you've just found several reasons as to why not to do that.
Or you can contact me personally, because not only do I pastor people in the spiritual, but I also help people in the physical as well. So I am a personal trainer on the side. And hey, not only that, shout out to Isogenics as well, because now I'm also a nutritional distribution service member, I guess you could say, for Isogenics. So I'm also helping people on the nutritional side as well. So hey, spiritually, physically, nutritionally, hey, you know what? And then all we need to start talking about is financial, Nick, and we got things going, bro.
Then nobody's going to listen to us, though.
But that's true, maybe. But I want to talk about this. So as I was doing this workout, man, it was all mental. And a lot of times people may think I'm crazy, but I talk to myself. I talk to myself whenever I'm preparing for preaching. I talk to myself whenever I'm driving down the road. I was talking to myself through this workout today because it was mental. And I was like, this is so long. Like, how long is this going to take? How many more reps do I got to do? How much this? How much that? How much this? How much that? And then this quote literally hit me in the head while I'm doing the workout. And I thought, you know what? I am sick and tired of being stuck in the middle of this workout. You know what happened? I started working harder, man. I mean, sweat pouring, breath going, like just doing some stupid stuff. Like I just kept going, kept pushing, kept grinding, and made it towards the end. And I thought to myself, you know what? If I was able to hit the gas like that in the physical, right? If I'm able to hit the gas like that because I hated where I was at, okay, in that time, in that area, because like I said, it was mental, man, just trying to make it through. But it got to really ringing out to me in different areas and aspects of life, man. I think, honestly, Nick, there are so many unhappy people in the world.
What?
Unhappy people, dude. Unhappy. A vast majority of them might be Christians. I don't know. But I think that there are so many unhappy people in the world for obvious reasons, but not so obvious reasons. And I want to talk about tonight, whenever, Nick, that people listen to this, I want to talk about how people need to get to a point of where they are so sick and tired. I've heard you say this before, and I've said it myself, of being sick and tired, that you want to make a change. Now, there is nothing, and I know I'm taking up a bunch of time right here, there is nothing more frustrating from the pastor perspective of where I'm at in one area of life. There's nothing more frustrating than preaching my guts out on a Sunday morning and seeing people come in and, man, and they're like, they it looks like they get it. It looks like they get it. It looks like that they're at the altar, they're crying, they're praying, they're doing, and it's like, bam, it's the breakthrough moment. And then it's like they wrapped up in something 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, and you're just like, you want to come over the table, like just as an example, I'd want to come over the table and just grab you by that Mr. Rogers cardigan you got on right now. You know what I'm saying? And is that Old Navy?
I have no idea.
And grab you by that cardigan and just shake you and go, why can't you get it?
It's not very neighborly of you.
It's not. It's not. But that may be the flesh side of me, I guess, maybe coming out. Maybe the coach side of me coming out. I'm not for sure. But it's not the fact of that people don't get it, I don't think. It's the fact of that a lot of times I don't know if people are willing to do the work to change. Talk about it.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm 10 minutes deep, dude. Talk about
10
it.
Minutes deep.
Don't you take 10.
I'm going to take 12. No, I'm just kidding. But I think, just going back to the quote that you put in there, I think the severity of how bad something bothers you, how bad you're struggling with something really does dictate. I think there's a certain point where some people will just become helpless. Like, I think it'll hurt so bad, they'll struggle so much that they're just like, okay, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can get. But I also believe that there's a level of, this thing right here is really, really bothering me, so I really need to pay attention to it. I really need to work on it. If you take it into the kind of the spiritual aspect of it, if there's something you're really, really struggling with and you really, really need God to work in it, you're going to pray about it more than, something like a hangnail. If something bothering you just a little bit, you're not going to spend as much time focusing on it as if something's bothering you a lot. If you have a family member that's on their deathbed dying with cancer, you're going to be praying pretty hard for that, that situation. But, if you're sitting there and you kind of want this, raise at work, you kind of want this new thing, you kind of want this new, whatever it may be, you may not be as urgently, intentionally praying about that situation.
Right.
But, when there's something really, really getting to you, really bothering you, that's when you're going to really seek out, pray about it, try harder, go harder, when you, like, when you were working out, you're just sitting there in the middle of it, it's hurting, you hate it, you want to get it over with, so you push through it as fast as you can so you can get it over with.
Right.
We get through that a lot of times, we see that in many different aspects of life. And if you even take it to a just basic example, when something really hurts you, you're going to pull your hand away a lot faster than, like if you see a hot stove and you put your hand on that, your hand's coming off really fast because that thing burns, that thing hurts like crazy.
Yeah.
But, you stub your toe, you may just leave your foot there for a minute, you're not want to move.
Yeah, is it broke? Is it not broke?
Yeah. What's going on? Just the severity level of pain, again, you can kind of use this to illustrate a lot of different things.
Man.
You're thinking spiritual, physical, like actual real pain.
Yeah.
Whatever that may be.
Yeah.
But, again, it just comes back to, how bad do you want to see change? How bad do you want to see something happen? How bad do you want to see that prayer answered? How bad do you want to see that person healed? How bad do you want to see this? How bad do you want to see that? It really just comes down to, how motivated are you to see what you want to see happen.
Yeah, well, you got to get sick and tired of being sick and tired, like what we said time and time again. And, and it's like people, there's a guy that goes to church here, plays guitar for, shout out to Mr. Harden, Warren. But, there we go. That was a quick hand clap, man.
Right,
yeah.
About like yours on Sunday.
I was going to say it. I was actually going to make the joke. I think it's a little bit longer than what I get on Sundays, but it's okay. But he always tells me, he says, Keenan, a change is not a change until a change is made. And that is so true because, on the surface, we can present change to people. I mean, you can come sit inside church if you want to every Sunday, but that doesn't mean you've changed. You know what I'm saying? You can, I mean, it's like getting a water bottle. This water bottle I got right here, okay? Now, I can sport this water bottle around like I've changed, but if I fill this water bottle with Dr. Pepper, have I really changed? Or that, unsweet tea that you screwed McDonald's out of a while ago? You know what I'm saying? Hey, don't think I'm going to shout out to all these people that's listening. You know what I'm saying?
It's okay. It's still better than that muddy isogenic water.
Oh, boy. Anyways, so... as we go on and talk, like, it's, think about this. If I'm putting Dr. Pepper in this, but it's still a water bottle, I've changed. I've got water. No, you put Dr. Pepper in it to drink. It's like the surface is not where you change at. And again, this is physical, financial, emotional, and spiritual. This is the 4 levels of life. If you're going to begin to change in your life, change comes from within, not on the outside. First off, change comes from within your heart. Where's your heart placement? We talked about this. Where's your heart going? Where's your heart at? Where's your heart focused at? That's where true change begins at. Your heart, your spirit, your soul. That's where it begins at. Then it becomes a mindset. Okay, I'm not going to live like this anymore. I'm not going to go into great details, but you were telling me a story before the podcast about a certain individual who was having struggles in a relationship. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and you have given advice time and time and time again, and it's like that individual does not listen, but that individual ends up in the same position with the same person every time. And it's like, at some point in time, you go, well, how sick are you going to get of getting treated like that? And it's like that across the board. I mean, it's like that in America. It's like that in the world today. People hang in relationships. People hang in marriages. People hang in situationships or
churches.
Yeah, I mean, just whatever you want to talk about. People hang in situations where they literally just. I don't know if they become stagnant. I don't know if they become comfortable. I think they become a lot of different things, Nick, but it's like, why in the world would you want to feel like that on a daily basis? Is it the adrenaline of not knowing what's coming one day? But it's like, it's not even that, because you know what's going to happen every single time. You know what's going to happen in that dead church. You know what's going to happen in that bad relationship. You know what's going to happen in that dead end job. You know what's going to happen. So is it really the adrenaline, or is it the complacency, or is it the all people will look bad, or people will look at me and give me attention, or what is it? Do you think, man?
I think we just get down this rabbit hole, of just thinking, toward like just this inner thought, and I always go back to this, anxiety. Really, what anxiety is just unrealistic thoughts and expectations.
Okay.
Like that's what anxiety is. And when you're sitting there and you're stuck in a bad relationship, an abusive relationship with a person, a family member, a church, whatever it may be, what in your head you're like, I'm comfortable. What I'm experiencing right now, I know. Like, this is normal.
Yeah.
I know what this feels like. I know what to expect. I know what's going on.
So even if it's bad, you still expect it, and you can live with it, right? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. There's, and again, I think I've talked about this in a podcast forever ago, but like, there's this theory in psychology called the old sock theory, which just basically says that you're going to stay with something, even if it sucks and it's got holes in it, it's messed up and stinky and disgusting. Yeah. You're going to stay in it because you know what it feels like, you know what it looks like, you know where it's at, all that kind of stuff. You know what to expect. And I think we get stuck in this situation where, we get so comfortable in our depression, we get so comfortable in the abuse that you've heard of Stockholm syndrome before. That's something a lot of people can kind of relate to because it's a pop culture term almost. I think we hear it in the movies and the TV shows and crime dramas and all that kind of stuff.
You do, I know.
Yeah. If you listen to that, if you watch that, but anyway, just the Stockholm syndrome where you're kind of like stuck with your abuser, where I know he beats me, I know he cusses me out, or I know she hits me, I know she controls my finances, all this kind of stuff, but I love her, she loves me, this is as good as it gets. You get stuck in that mentality.
Just like what we talked about last week, I think.
This is as good as it gets. Yeah. And I think, to a lot of people, it hurts, but it's, again, getting back to what I was kind of started out here saying, we're anxious as to what would happen if we change. We're anxious because we don't, we have all these thoughts and expectations. Oh, if I leave this person, they're going to never leave me alone. Or people are going to tell me I have no follow through. Yeah. Or people are going to judge me or resent me. And,
right.
The family members of theirs I've grown close to, I'm going to lose contact with. I'm going to lose my friends. I'm going to lose family members, whatever. We start this kind of like a snowball. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger as it rolls down that hill of, full of snow.
Yeah.
And so we create this situation in our head that's not even realistic. We create this situation of, if I leave this situation, if I leave this relationship, if I leave this church, this job, whatever, then things are going to get worse. Things are going to get, it's not going to be better. Things are going to just I'm going to continually have more and more problems. But again, as I said before, anxiety is just unrealistic thoughts and expectations that we put on ourselves and other people and other situations. Anxiety comes from looking ahead at the future with unrealistic ideas. Again, you're looking ahead at the future. I always say depression's looking at the past, anxiety's looking ahead at the future.
Okay.
And, so you're stuck in that situation where you're like, okay, things are going to get worse, things are going to be like this. But again, it's just not true.
Right.
And that's what you have to tell yourself. You have to, and so many people are stuck in their own heads. They think, oh, this is how it's always going to be. This is how it's always been. This is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. You get stuck in your own head. You get stuck in this long process of, it's going to be bad. It's going to be worse. It's going to be bad. But again, that's where you have to stop. There's this guy that I listen to and read his book. His name's John Acuff. He came out with this book called Soundtracks that talks about how we grow up and we live our lives with these soundtracks soundtracks in our head that play on a constant, regular, daily basis saying you're not good enough, you're not old enough, you're not young enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not strong enough, you're not ever going to do this. Yeah, just these things that go in your head and you ruminate on, think about all day long, 24/7, 365, to where you start to believe it.
Right.
And really what the important thing is that you need to stop and you need to start trying to replace those soundtracks. You know, start replacing them with more, I can do this, I am enough, I am old enough, I am qualified, all these sorts of things.
Yeah.
You know, and I know, you know, it sounds cliche, you know, with all these positive affirmations and things like that. But, you know, I think it's just important.
Doesn't positivity breed positivity, though?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
And
like,
you reap what you sow.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, if those soundtracks are playing in your head all day,
that's
you're
in the
depressed,
Bible, I think.
Right. Yeah, right. It might be. It might just be. We might be getting somewhere.
I think it's Galatians somewhere, 6 maybe. Yeah, that's right.
But, you know, if you're constantly putting those negative thoughts in your head, and that's what I told that individual you were just talking about. You know, I said, if you constantly tell yourself that things aren't going to get better, things aren't going to change, that you deserve this, you deserve that, if you constantly allow yourself to believe that and listen to those lies every single day, that's what you're going to believe, that's what you're going to become.
Yeah.
And that's what you're going to send out to other people.
Right.
I said, but if you use the experiences that you've had, if you use the pain that you've had, if you use the advice other people have given you, and you start to flip all that stuff on its head and say, okay, I am good enough, I can accomplish this, I can do that, then, you know, that is when you start to really motivate yourself and encourage yourself. And sometimes you're the only cheerleader you have.
Absolutely.
And that's very important to remember as well, is that, you know, if nobody else is cheering you on, you have to try even harder than those people who have support and those people who have, you know, people behind them and lifting them up and clapping for them and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
You know, like it's important to be that person for yourself. And you know, a lot of this stuff, all of it just starts with you. It starts with a mindset change. It starts with a shift in your attitudes and your beliefs. It starts with a change and a shift in your habits. You know, you have to do all this if you want to see good things come, if you want to reap the benefits of positivity, if you want to see good things happen, if you want to see change in your life, you're going to have to experience some pain. You're going to have to rip that Band-Aid off. You're going to have to do what's hard and be positive. You're going to have to do what's hard and change those habits and change those thoughts, change those ideas, change those beliefs, and you're going to have to tell yourself that you do belong, you do matter, you have worth, you have value, you're going to do great things, you're going to be successful. But a lot of that is very hard for a lot of people. You know, and I think, again, a lot of that comes from that anxiety of the what ifs. You know, what if I leave, then this is going to happen, because we've seen it in TV shows or movies or, you know, all these things that influence us on a daily basis. Yeah. And that's what I told that individual. I was like, you know, when you're trying to seek out and get help, you need to make sure that you're not filling your life with the same stuff that made you sick in the first place.
True.
Like if you're, you know, listening to a bunch of angry yelling music, you're going to be pretty angry and yelling, right?
I like that because, and I'll let you go on. People are tired. No, I'm just playing.
You got 10 minutes early.
I know, right? So whenever you said that, you don't feel your body back with what made you sick to begin with. It dawned on me that a lot of times, have you ever experienced this? Like if you ate something before you got sick, and then you got sick and you puked it back up, you literally did not want that again for like forever. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it really made me think of whenever you said that. Like whatever made you sick to begin with, it's almost like you get to a point of being so sick and then you get it out of your system and you're like, God, I don't ever want to go back there again, you know? Go ahead now.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just really, I mean, in a nutshell what I was going for, though. I mean, it's just trying to understand that, you know, all these things that you deal with and you struggle with, if you put up with it and you accept it, that's all you're ever going to get.
Yes, sir.
You know, if you just keep, you know, staying in that same situation, if you listen to people yelling and cussing and screaming and fighting all the time, then that's what you're going to, you know, what you put in is what you get out. Yep. You know, and again, that's in the Bible. You know, like all that kind of stuff. I know we're actually getting some biblical stuff in tonight.
Yeah, right.
It might be pretty crazy.
You know, here's the thing about it is that, you know, and I said this from the stage the other day, that we've allowed the world to take biblical principles and rip them off, basically. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, everything like, you know, Fortune 500 companies, pyramid schemes, everything else, you know where that came from? It came from the Bible. It came from biblical principles is where it came from, you know, honestly. Like, you go back and read it. And I told people this from the stage on Sunday. Like, Jesus started the pyramid scheme with the 12 disciples.
He just wasn't ripping people off.
Yeah.
He was saving people.
That too, I guess, you know. But there were some bad Christians along the way. We know that. Still some bad Christians. But yeah, I mean, overall product good, right? So, you know, I said, you know, things like that, man, it came from the Bible. What I want to talk about just for a few seconds is I got to thinking about I guess maybe people trying to plug in success in my life over the years. And I remember the 7th grade teacher, man, science teacher, Mr. Stevens, man, and he would make us stand up every day in class before class started. And we recited a simple line that says, I can and will be successful. We stood up every day and said that. Now, 7th grade, that was about 90, oh, goodness gracious, 90, 96, 95 for me, something like that. I don't know. And, it was so long ago, and it was one line, Nick, but it's stuck with me this whole point in time. I can and will be successful. And not only that, I asked the question. We went to the girls' home, myself and Miss Yvonne the other night. Went to the girls' home, and I've been on this trip just about getting people to realize the true potential within themselves to be the best that they can be. Because I think that's important. And I want every person that sits inside of our church to be the best that they can be, physically, financially, emotionally, and spiritually. I want my clients that come to the gym and trust me with their health. I want them to be the best. I want people who buy health products from me to be the best. I want people are my passion, and I want them to be the best, but I also want them to realize that anything within them is possible. It is possible. And so I took, and these girls range anywhere from range of 13 to 18 years old, okay? And rough life, rough background, so on and so forth. A lot of them just trying to get out of there and get home. They don't even really have any basis for a hope in the future yet. I tried to put it into perspective for them Monday night. I said, listen, I said, there are 3 qualifications to be the United States president. 3 qualifications. I said, do you know what those are? Of course, I think they got one, right? But listen to this. According to the WhiteHouse.gov Executive Branch Division, it says the Constitution lists only 3 qualifications for the presidency. The president must be at least 35 years of age, be a natural-born citizen, and must have lived in the United States for at least 14 years. That's it. No college education. Black, white, Cuban, Asian doesn't matter. Male, female doesn't matter. Last name doesn't matter. None of that matters. The 3 basic qualifications to be the United States president, which is regarded as the most powerful position in the free world, and you need to meet 3 qualifications. Nick, I am 37 years old. I'm a natural-born citizen, and I've been here all my life. Who's stopping me from being the United States president?
Foreign interest groups.
I can't with you, man. Forced interest. Anyway.
Foreign, not forced.
Forced groups, too, probably, But, think about that. Like, what is truly stopping me from being the United States president? The thing about it is that whenever we're 4, 5, 6 years old and we're sitting in kindergarten class and we can barely spell our name, and they're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? We say president. We say astronaut. We say lawyer and doctor. And I wanted to fly planes. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, what stops us from that moment of time where anything is possible, and somehow we navigate through life and we get to this moment in time of where it's like, well, I'm not going to fly planes. Well, I'm not going to be the president. Well, I'm too old to be a lawyer. I don't want to go back to school. And so, again, nothing wrong with this. We're not taking jabs at people or anything else, but it's like we settle for this small town. I'm going to work at the gas station, the factory, the Dollar General or whatever. Yeah, hey, man, that's what my kids call it. Okay. Things like that. Like we settle for us again. Nothing wrong with it because we have to have people to work that job. I get that. I understand that completely. But man, whenever we were made and created to be so much more. So much more, Nick, where it's like everybody, man, you can make your way. You can make your future. You can do that, man. You can go. All it boils down to is putting in the work to do it. Putting in the work to do it. Listen, if you want to become an actor, do you think you're going to become an actor in Hodgenville, Kentucky?
Probably not.
No, absolutely not. Where are you going to have to put in the work at?
Elsewhere.
I was going New York, L.A., okay? I mean, we'll leave, geographically, we'll leave it open.
Jennifer Lawrence made, a female. She was from Louisville. She was from Louisville. So,
Diane Sawyer, man.
She was the first Did you know she was the first actress to ever lead an action movie in the entire history of the world?
Wow.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Is that on Google?
Yeah. No, she said it herself in a magazine. But,
because she said it, it's true, right?
Exactly, because forget Sigourney Weaver and Aliens or anything like that.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, I got you, man. I got you.
Subtle jab, it's okay.
But think about that. Like Tom Cruise, Kentucky, Diane Sawyer, Johnny Depp, Jennifer Lawrence. There's different people, man, that have literally made it from small towns in life. But it's like you have to be willing to put in the work. Those people left the area of comfortableness called home, and they ventured out west. Like Kid Rock, I'm packing up my game. I'm heading out west, and they headed out west, man. Or whether it was New York, or whether it was, whether it doesn't matter. John Mayer, man. I love some John Mayer, man. I think he is so talented and skilled as far as a musician. It is amazing. They said that he would lay in bed at what's the music school, man? Is it like Mozart or something like that? I don't know. What is it, man?
Oh, I have no idea.
Oh, my goodness. Anyways, it's like one of those great, like it is so freaking hard to get into, okay? And they said that he would just lay in bed at night, man, and that the other kids that were at that school would literally come and just listen to him play while he was sitting in his bed. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I get that he was going to school. I understand that, but let's just be honest. John Mayer was never meant to be at school. He is just one of these one-off talents that it's just like, man, put in a little bit of the work, John, and now what's he doing? He's world famous. But the thing about it is that every person that has become someone successful or intricate in the world or whatever has had to put in the work at some point in time. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing about, and I'm talking about sustainable success. I'm not talking about overnight successes where it's just 3 months they're not even mentioned on the news or whatever anymore. But I'm talking sustainable success. They've had to put in the work, Nick. They've had to make things possible. They've had to grind. They've had to get there to that point. And I think honestly, like as people, even my kids, man, I'm going to say this, and then you do your thing right here at the end. But it's like I've even tried to start putting a mindset into my children. Okay, I've got Gaines and Lindy that's home with us, and Gaines is 11, Lindy will be 9 in January. And their health, I'm not saying that they're not healthy kids, but their health wise is like a mess, man. You know what I'm saying? Like they're kids, they're snacking, Doritoing, chocolating, going through a 2-liter Coke a day, whatever, The life, dude. The life. Get me back to that point where I could still look like Lindy and be a beanpole, you know what I'm saying, after eating all that. But I started setting down some rules, man. Today is Tuesday. I started yesterday, baby. Woo!
Good luck.
Day 2, right? But I started out with, hey, we're going to start drinking a bottle of water to get up in the morning with. You're going to start drinking, and then after that bottle of water, hey, okay, you can have your Coke, you can do whatever. But you know what? Next week we're going to a bottle and a half. The week after that we're going to 2 bottles. And it's like slowly we're trying to phase out. Going to something that, is causing your teeth to rot, causing weight to pack on, causing sugar and everything else to enter your body. Not only that, we started exercising today. I had my kids doing bear crawls in the hallway. I had them doing sit-ups on the bed. I had them, like things like that. And it's like, at some point in time, man, and I like this word, and I think I shared this. Give me just 1 second here, man. I got to get right back over to my story real quick. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Jim Rohn said that. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Now think about that just for a second, man. Let's talk about that before we end this thing tonight. Discipline. We talk about that word a lot, but you know what? Discipline, I think, too, not only feeling the pain and getting there, but you know what? After you start the work process, Nick, how important is discipline to getting to where you need to go?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I even shared a video this morning that I think kind of played alongside that, and it was another thing by John Acuff, where he was talking about, sometimes your schedule should be more important than your emotions sometimes.
Oh, yes, sir.
Just basically saying that, your emotion, maybe you have a schedule every Tuesday to run 3.5 miles, but it's raining outside. And so your emotions are like, no, let's not run today. It's raining. It's nasty out.
Yep.
But then you have to have the discipline to tell your emotions, no, this is on the schedule. This is what we're doing today. Because, we talked about this time and time again. Once you give a little bit, you're going to just keep moving with it. If you don't show up to church one Sunday, it's a lot easier not to show up for 2.
Yes, sir.
If you skip one run day, it's going to be a whole lot easier, because I promise running is not fun for most people.
Right.
It's going to be a lot easier easier not to run the next time. So again, that's where it's important to make sure that you remember, sometimes, when you set out to do something, you need to stay disciplined. You need to stay motivated to complete that. You need to keep moving with it. You need to keep going with it, because at the end of the day, if you don't follow through on anything you commit yourself to, you're just going to look stupid to most people. You look at this person out here, making all these promises, saying he's going to do this, saying he's going to do that, but no follow through. People are going to hate you. People are going to judge you. People are going to ridicule you. Every politician in the entire rest of history, right?
Yeah.
But again, that's something that's really important to think about as well. Is that discipline is it's really a cornerstone to having a successful life. Discipline to read the Bible, discipline to have prayer time alone with God, discipline to go to church, discipline to go running, discipline to drink a certain thing or eat a certain thing, or discipline to stay on a diet, discipline to do this, discipline to do that. Discipline is very, very important to every aspect of our life. Making sure that we are doing what we don't feel like doing when we don't feel like doing it. And that's like one of the hardest things for us to do. Discipline is keeping discipline to me is just making sure that I'm doing things I don't feel like doing. I don't. I'd say even most Christians don't feel like reading the Bible most days.
True.
But discipline is basically telling yourself and making yourself open up that Bible app if you have to and read it that way.
You got to, bro.
Finding a way to do it. Discipline may be, I'm in a really bad place. I don't feel like worshiping God right now. Discipline is raising your hands in the middle of church service anyway. Discipline is raising your hand and praising God in the middle of your car when you're angry and frustrated and you felt like cussing somebody out at the drive-thru or at McDonald's. But again, discipline is very, very important to every walk and aspect of life. I think that's just definitely an important thing to consider and to think about. One last thing that I want to put in, because I know we are running a little late tonight, but it's fine. Who cares? Who doesn't? The people who listen, they'll listen. But anyway,
there you go.
Another thing,
good attitude.
Right? I know, right? Another thing, I know we've kind of shouted out a lot of different people tonight, very consistently. But I was reading that soundtracks book I was talking about earlier, and John Acuff put this thing in there. We were talking about positive affirmations, starting your day off on the right foot, like you said, starting the day off with a bottle of water. Starting your day off with that disciplined mindset. Saying I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. In his book, he has this thing he calls the new anthem. All right, so this is something that he wants people to start and end their days with, looking in a mirror and saying this to themselves. I know this sounds, cliche. It sounds like you're trying to summon Beetlejuice or something. But basically, you're putting yourself in this mindset where it says, like I insert name here, choose my thoughts. I know that doing my best starts with thinking my best, like laying a path for an adventure. These thoughts will set the course for my actions. I'm confident that what I think matters. I'm excited to see what happens next. I'm disciplined and dedicated to stick with it. Here are 10 things I know, and then you'll basically come up with, some of the he lists some examples, just a couple that I've put in here for myself. I'm not the best. I'm not the most disciplined at doing this myself. I'll just put that out there right now. But one of them, the first one I have on here is I am disciplined. Christ in me is stronger than the wrong desires in me. So that's huge for a lot of people. Those people who struggle with addiction, those people who struggle with certain thoughts, anxiety, depression, whatever it may be. Making sure you tell yourself that you may feel like giving up. You may feel like throwing in the towel, but remember, you have to be disciplined. You're called to be disciplined. You're called to do what God has called you to do. Another thing. The only person standing in my way is me, and I quit doing that yesterday. Winning is contagious. When I help others win, I win too. I love people. I believe the best about others. God knows that's hard to do right there. Right?
Absolutely, man.
That's hard to do right there. Everything is always working out for me. The best response to obstacles is to do it anyway. Just all these different things that you tell yourself on, if you're struggling with something, again, take that statement like, I struggle with running. Say, I'm going to run a mile this morning. Just put that in there. Start your day off with telling yourself you're going to do that. Telling yourself you're going to get out of that situation. Telling yourself you're going to make it. Telling yourself you're going to get healed. Telling yourself that prayer is going to get answered. Telling yourself your finances are going to make sense. All those sorts of things, are just really important to being a successful person and being a successful Christian, is making sure that you are disciplined, making sure that even when it hurts, that you still push forward and move forward.
Right. I like the list thing. Because that brings me to my last point, and then we're closing down. I was listening to let's shout him out, Maxwell podcast the other day, John Maxwell, and he said that his dad taught him a very important priority of life. He said, sit down and map out what you got to do in the day. He said, start with the most important, and then list the least important. And he said, once you start the day out, you're at 100%. And he said, you know what? You need to get the most important stuff done while you're at 100%. And he said, think about that. He said, and honestly, if you get 80% of it done, he said, you know what? You've won, because probably the 20% didn't even matter to begin with. And I think that's priority, man. I like that. Discipline, priority, list what's most important and focus on that. He said, he said this, he said, you don't have to be 100% to eat lunch. You don't have to be 100% to eat breakfast. You do have to be 100% to make that business decision, or to have that meeting with a person, or to be focused in, a meeting or something like that. You do have to be focused. So, hopefully something has been said and done, as we always say inside of this podcast tonight, inside of this episode, that can really motivate you, maybe to get out of the situation, the funk that you're in, the mindset that you're in, the relationship that you're in, the job that you're in, or heaven forbid, I know we say this, even the church that you're in, maybe,
unless it's fruition.
Yeah, right, yeah, and then you just got to hang with us through the good and the bad. We just want to see better for people. Again, physically, financially, emotionally, spiritually, we want to see better for people. And in order to do that, you have to be disciplined. You have to decide what's most important. And you know what? You have to put in the work.
Next week, we will give everybody the miracle water, courtesy of Peter Popoff.
Yeah, we're going to start listening to the Popoff podcast too, right? Absolutely. We're going to move to Hawaii and help some people. They need to be blessed over there. But we appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in. Keep on downloading the podcast. Keep on telling more people about it. And this is Pastor Keenan, again, with my favorite sidekick, Nick. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. And we'll see y'all again next time.